Hey folks, so just finished today's, I think it's the 85th performance today in a row, and who have we got on today? Why don't you say hi in the chat? And now what I'm going to do is show you exactly what I do after every stream, after every performance, to stay in the zone. I mean, relatively in the zone. So the one you just saw, if you did just see it, I wouldn't say was where I was most engaged and kind of in it that I've ever been. It was just one of those, you know, and you can't ever be, I mean, you know, the tide goes out, the tide comes in, things happen, things don't happen. So the one that I just did was an example of just a kind of, it just happened, and it was what it was, kind of thing. It wasn't a disaster, but it, you know, at no point was I jumping up and down like crazy. Actually, one at the weekend on when was it? I think it was on Sunday. It was my Sunday morning, so most people's Saturday night. I was going, I don't know, I tried for the first time at 155 BPM, I think it was, and I was dancing around so much that my iWatch said, "It looks like you're doing a workout. Record indoor run." And I couldn't find the record indoor rave feature, so I recorded myself an indoor run. So you know, when you're doing anything, the reason that you want to do things regularly and consistently is that quite often there's no particular reason why it hasn't gone well. It just goes okay sometimes, and other times it doesn't. And that's just, I mean, you know, that's just the world. Yeah. Sometimes you wake up with a headache. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you wake up in a great mood. Sometimes you don't. But, you know, if you wake up in a bad mood, that doesn't mean you don't do it. Right? You know, when you wake up in a bad mood, unless obviously you're depressed or something, which is different to a bad mood, obviously. But, you know, unless you're depressed or something, you still get up, right? So the first thing that you want to take from this is how I stay endlessly in the zone is by doing it every day, right? Like, no matter what, no matter how well it went yesterday, even when you've been, you know, even when you've had a complete disaster, the performance before. In fact, that is the most important time to get straight back and just do it again. And you've had a terrible session in the studio. Do you know what the worst time? I mean, this works for live streaming. It works for live performancing. It works for playing music live without a DAW. And it works when you're doing production in a DAW and you're not performing. You've got no intention of doing that. Yeah. Is if you stop when you've had a bad session, think about it. What is that going to do? That's going to make it a million times harder to get back to. It's like when I've got 4 kids, 4 little boys, when they fall off a bike or a, you know, skateboard or something. Not that they skateboard, but one of them did for a while. When they fall off a skateboard, what do you say? Get back on now immediately. Well, you don't force them to do it, obviously, but you suggest kindly, as a kindly parent, get back on. Why? Because if they don't, it's going to become it might become a thing. So it's interesting, isn't it, how often when we have a bad session, we struggle to get back to it. But that's the time that you want to get back to it. So the first point is do it every day, no matter what. And when it goes badly, or when you have a session like today when it was just okay, doesn't make any difference. You still get back on. There is a magic to every single day, no matter what. If you look at many of the masters of in most areas, they did something every day towards what they were doing. Yeah. People quite often have said, you know, but what about weekends? I'm like, well, that's a day, isn't it? And you know, with the way that music technology is now, you can do something every day. So that's first thing. The second thing, and you know, to be honest with you, if you'd have asked me, if you'd have showed me what I'm doing now, back when I was, I don't know, in my 20s, 30s, I would have said, well, that doesn't seem very creative. Okay, yeah, that seems like the opposite of creative. But if I look at how creative I'm being now compared to when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I did okay. You know, I released, 300 plus, pieces of music on, vinyl and all that kind of stuff back then. But it's nothing compared to what I'm doing now, and it's because of things like this. And you won't see many musicians and artists doing things like this because it seems that it isn't the way that we see them. Yeah, but really what I'm talking about here is basically reviewing and tracking what you've done. Yeah, because it's what I've done every single day, and when I say every single day, I have missed a few because I've been late or things like that. I'm not going to lie. I try to do this every single day because I'm going to show you right now my process afterwards, and I'm going to do it on the on the thing that I just played. Okay, hopefully this works. Yeah, so spreadsheets, fun. It's not really a spreadsheet though. It's just somewhere to write things down in columns. Right, I could do this on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet, okay? Because when I was doing this, I was like, oh God, I can't believe I'm telling music producers to use a spreadsheet. It's an accountancy, but all right. So here's what I do, and it works. I can guarantee you, it works. And again, if spreadsheets make you feel all, this isn't music, this is what accountants used, then do it on a piece of paper. All right, all right. Last in, I think it was last in, first out. I can't remember the name. Anyway, first out. All right, so date. Yep. Now, what I actually track here isn't probably what you think I would track. So I'm not tracking, actually, at this point, the quality of, or what I think was the quality of the music. Why do you think that might be? Any guesses? I mean, probably won't be a guess for a lot of the people watching this. But why do you think I don't track? I'm not actually writing how good I think the music was. Post in the chat. I can't see me. I can't see me eCam live. Hopefully you can see this writing. Can you see this writing? I'll make it bigger just in case. Oh, is that as big as it goes? There we go. Let me know if that writing is really fuzzy. I know there's been problems with this kind of thing before. Where are my comments? Where's my comments window gone? There we go. Okay, so FD Car says, well, you won't judge right now. Yeah, well, because the thing is, I was making it, right? So I don't know how good it is. Yeah, like the person who's, and this is what makes making music so hard, is that the person who is, the person who's making the music is the person who's least able to actually hear it for what it is. Yeah, it's not that it's not that you want to listen to your audience above anything else or anything like that. It's simply that certainly in terms of your perspective and that you're in the music, you're actually making it, you can't actually hear it for what it is. You're hearing it for what it could be. You're hearing it for how you feel in the moment. You're literally listening to whether you found that bit difficult. You're listening to whether what you thought would happen did happen. You're listening to the comparison between it and the way that you wished it would have gone. There are all of these factors that mean that you are not actually hearing the music for what it is. Whereas the audience is just listening to it. Or, to a certain extent, you, later, is just listening to it as a piece of music without wondering why, without you wondering why the kick drum was distorting in quite a pleasant way, but not in a way that you were thinking, which is what happened to me today, right? So, and you will be listening to the music through those multiple different lenses, which distort what the music actually sounds like. Yeah, you'll also be, you know, for instance, if you're doing it live, you'll also be listening to it through the lens of how many people are posting in the comments, how many people have commented this live stream, is just, there's so many different things that mean you don't know whether the music, how good the music is. Yeah, so I don't actually track at this stage. I don't track how good I thought the music was, because it's actually pointless. I did it for a while, and then I was like, but it's, I mean, it was interesting because when I listened back to the music, it was interesting to see the difference, because it was always, well, not always, 80% of the time it was very different. It was like, I thought, oh my God, that's amazing, I'm a genius. And then I listen back and I go, oh, it was all right. And other times I was like, oh, that was terrible. You know, everyone's going nuts in the chat. And I was like, what, you know, but why were they going nuts? I thought it was awful. And I'd listen back and go, oh, actually, it was quite good. Right? So that was interesting. But I realized that I know that. I fully know that. Yeah, I know it so well that I don't need to remember how good I thought it was. It doesn't actually make any difference to me. So I wanted to simplify this process for myself as much as possible so that I actually did it. Yeah, because it's super powerful. All right. So coming back to this. So the first thing that I score is my overwhelm. Yeah, and bear in mind, you can do this whether you're doing it live, whether you're performing, or whether you're producing. So when I say overwhelm, what I mean is how overwhelmed I was, how difficult it was, how much I had to think about, which meant that I wasn't actually in the music. Right? Because what we do tend to do, and this is where the gear thing comes in, what we do tend to do is we tend to, sorry, I'm being a bit anal here about this. I don't usually look at that, but now I'm showing this to people. I'm being a bit more anal. So I'm just going to make this all like justified correctly. Excuse me. Just my inner accountant coming out. So there we go. So the overwhelm is how difficult you found it, essentially. You've got bad lag. Oh dear, that's frustrating. Hang on, let's try this. Okay, hopefully that is better. Oh, stop it. Sorry. Right. I don't care about your weekly highlights. Sorry, this is very annoying. There we go. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, if ever that happens in the future, do let me know, because it may well be that I've forgotten something. Yeah. All right, that should improve things. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you experience that in the future on any of these, let me know. It may well also because I have it on ultra fast latency, and maybe this internet connection doesn't deal with that so well. Anyway, so the first thing is overwhelm. So overwhelm isn't, overwhelm is how difficult was it? How many new things am I focused on, which is kicking me out of the music? So let's say you've just got a new bit of gear, or you're using something for the first time. Stop this playing. You're using something for the first time, and all you spend your time doing is figuring out how it actually works. Yeah, well, that would mean your overwhelm is very high. Yeah, I mean it's very clear when you're performing, when you're doing something live, or if you're jamming live or something. If you're just like, I've got too many things to think about, What that does is it usually, if you want to stay focused on the music, well, not usually, it always pushes you out of the zone. Yeah, because you're not focused on the actual music. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's the other thing you can do is turn down the video quality. But then you probably won't be able to read this. So, yep. Okay, then I'm actually moving house soon, so I should be able to. I'll probably get a better internet connection there. I hope so, anyway. So yeah, no, on the performance, I had it on a different setting, which means that the comments, it's on low latency rather than ultra low latency. So when I'm on these ones, because I want to be able to talk to you and you respond, I put it on ultra low latency. But what I didn't have is I didn't have my, I shut down my computer and opened it up and forgot to turn on Speedify, which is a service I use to bond internet connections. Anyway, so coming back to staleness. Yeah, so overwhelm. So in that last performance, I think for some reason, I think it was because I was doing this and it felt different, right? I actually felt more overwhelmed than I have recently. Even though I haven't really changed anything about my setup at all for the last 3 days. I think it was because it felt different. Like it wasn't all the same old crew kind of thing. It felt different. So I was feeling quite kind of overwhelmed in general. So I gave it a 5. Actually, I think it's probably more like a 6 actually. Yeah, and I know this is just me making up numbers in a way, but what I'm doing is I'm reviewing on my experience of the session. And again, you can do this whether you're producing or playing live. No difference. It's actually really, really great things to track, okay? So then the second thing I score is my staleness. So what staleness is, it's like the opposite to overwhelm. And it's interesting because you can be stale about different things. So that's why these got, it's not like if this is a 4, then that's then that's a 6, yeah, or anything like that. It's just in general how stale did it feel, which means how much you kind of spinning your wheels. This is easy, but what staleness means is easy, but not good easy. Yeah, bad easy. Yeah, and it's not boredom exactly, because the trouble is with the word boredom is that overwhelm can push you into boredom too. If things are too difficult, they can push you into boredom. If things are too easy, they can push you into boredom. So really, how much do you think you're just spinning your wheels and doing the same thing over and over again? And I definitely felt on this one that my staleness was actually quite high. Yeah. So it was weird because I was overwhelmed due to what I was doing. I'd sent an email to Melissa saying, I'm doing this, I'm going to do a session, and then I'm going to show you what I do after everything. That overwhelmed me. But actually, as a result of that, I now realize in reviewing this, as a result of that, I actually went back to quite safe things that are kind of me spinning my wheels a bit, yeah, which is why I never actually got fully into the zone. So actually thinking about it, now I'm talking about it, I think the staleness was quite high. I played it safe. I played it too safe, which meant I was like, oh, I'm doing this again. Yeah, I was very stale. So I was both quite overwhelmed and stale. So I'd say my addiction level today was low. Yeah. Okay. So next. So this is like just scoring yourself. Yeah. And what really the purpose of these scores are to actually make you aware of how you felt in the process. And I'm not scoring myself based on how good I thought the music was. I'm scoring because I don't know whether that's true or not. Whereas I know how I felt, right? How I felt about it isn't true. I mean, it's not like, it is true. It's not reality. It's just how I felt. But I can be sure that I felt like that. Whereas I can't be sure about the quality. Yeah. So, and I'll explain to you why this is a good thing to do and what happens when you do it afterwards. Okay. So, What went well? So now what I'm really doing here again is I'm not so much, I mean, I can put a bit of what I thought about the quality in it if it's relevant to what I might do in order to improve what, you know, how I'm doing it. Okay, so I might put a bit of what I thought about it in there, but really I'm still focused on my engagement, my addiction in the process. Okay, now when I say addiction, what I mean is, because I don't think I covered that, what I mean is how much I want to go and do it again. Am I like, oh man, I couldn't stop? Yeah, but I just could have gone on forever. Sometimes it's like that, like on Sunday, frustratingly, when it was my little boy's 6th birthday, and I always forget their ages. Anyway, they're all just little. so it was my little boy's 6th birthday, so I had to stop, and I didn't want to. I really didn't want to, but obviously going and seeing my little boy who's all excited about his birthday is way more important than me dancing around, like getting my dad dance on. So it's really like, how much do you desperately want to continue, or how much you want to get back to it? How addicted were you to that process? Yeah. So today it was very low. That's pretty much the lowest it's been, actually. So what went well? And no matter what, even if all of these, even if it's a really low score, you always start with what went well. It's really, really important, because some things did go well. Always. Don't matter, even in a crisis. A mentor of mine once said, I think it was when the London, sorry, someone at the door. When the London bombings happened, we were in London, and actually somebody that we knew died in them. This was before I knew that person had died. But anyway, when the London bombings happened, I was standing there watching it on the news, just going, oh, it's just so terrible. It's just so awful. Who would do that? Just as you do. And one of my mentors said to me, yeah, but look at the helpers. Right? So even in a crisis like that, when people have died, there are things that are going well. There are things to be optimistic about, right? And what that does, what this question does, what went well, even in and I've brought up like the London bombings in relation to a session, right? But I'm just trying to show you that even in the worst sessions, the worst situations, there is light. There can't not be, yeah? Because if it was only dark, there wouldn't be anything else, yeah? Yeah, you wouldn't say it was dark, it would just be it. Yeah. So even if you had a really bad session, yeah, even if you weren't addicted at all, and I wouldn't say that was a really bad session, it's just I was just like, it was very meh, yeah, which is kind of the worst thing. When it's terrible, it's easier to deal with, but when it's meh, it's one of the worst things. So even in a session where you're very meh, just think about what went well. Okay, so what did go well? See, I'm struggling. Because what I'm thinking about right now is, what did I enjoy doing? Yeah, what were the bits that not so much, there's a bit of, of course, how good I thought the music was comes into it, because that is one of the things that leads to you being engaged. But that it leads to you being engaged means that it isn't you being engaged, it lies underneath you being engaged. So in a sense, it's less important. The result, what you're hearing, is less important than your engagement, because it goes into your engagement, yeah? It lies beneath it, yeah? And the other reason that your engagement is more important is because how are you going to get better? What's the best way to get better? What's the quickest way to get better? What's the quickest way to make more music? It's to be in the zone. It's to be in flow. Yeah? And yes, how good you think it is in any given moment, whether you're right or not, how good you think it is in any given moment is one of the things that could knock you into flow. But it's not the only thing. Yeah? Okay. So I'm trying to think what I enjoyed doing. Okay. So playing with timeless. So Timeless is a delay plugin I've added kind of a little bit recently to my setup. Was fun at one point. And I always say put at least 3. And here, I mean, this is a good example because you're seeing me struggling to find things that went well. I'm sure there were. Oh, I know. Yeah, okay, so the bass on bringing in the bass on sequencer 2 of this Subharmonicon, that got me going. So you can see this is kind of a result thing, it's kind of a quality thing. Yeah, but the way I'm framing it is in what got me going. Yeah, rather than, oh, it was amazing when the bass came in of sequencer 2. Yeah, it's not that kind of thing. What else? While it was hard getting back to the modal stuff at the end was satisfying. Okay, so if you're familiar with music theory at all, basically because of my piano teacher suggested at one point that I, as well as doing majors and minors, I do some modal type playing as well. And they've got a very different colour to them. I mean, really, majors and minors are a mode, but like in the West, we're used to majors and minors, so they sound different to modes, which kind of sound just a bit weird. Yeah, only a bit weird. They're really good. I mean, particularly in electronic music, they're all there all the time. But so what I do is I tend to switch between the two. And at the very end, when I played those chords at the end, they went into modal territory, but I got very locked into. In fact, here's what were the problems. So oops. So this is the next question. Got very locked into minor key. And to get out, and attempted to get out. So you know when I played a couple of wrong notes, that was just because I was trying to get out of the G minor, and I was doing it badly. Okay. Got very locked into a minor key and attempted to get out badly. Succumbed to temptation to change DFAM tuning up when I knew it would sound ridiculous. See, there you go, I'm getting too focused on the result, yeah. Then felt I had to, so I'm deleting that, had to repeat. So one of the things, if you make a mistake or you do something that just sounds bad, one of the ways that you make it sound okay is just by repeating it, doing it a number of different times, and then it becomes okay. And I did that when I was moving the tuning of the DFAM. I knew, it's weird, it's a little bit like when you're driving, I don't know if you ever get that thing when you're driving in traffic, and sometimes you think, you know, if I just turn the steering wheel, you know, a lot of fast road or a motorway or something, if I turn the steering wheel like that, it would be absolutely disastrous. I'm like literally one hand movement away from a terrible situation. I don't know if you've ever had that thought. I know it's just a bit weird, but it's a bit like that when you're playing live, where you're like, you know that something's not is going to sound bad, but you do it anyway. It happens to me on multiple occasions, right? Or at least you think it's going to sound bad and you do it anyway. So that was one of them. So I succumbed to the temptation to change the DFAM tuning up, then I felt I had to repeat. And just an overarching thing was, what were the problems? Feeling like it was more important caused me to be way too safe and go back to past stale thing elements and techniques. Okay, so Rob's asking a good question. Oh, sorry. How long have you done this data for, Mike, and how often do you look back on it? Okay. Oh, sorry. So the first thing, how long have I done this data for? Since, oh, sorry, it's the wrong camera. What's going on? How long have I done this data for is since the 9th of March, when I started doing live streams. I just made it, it's a really, really long spreadsheet, so I just did the last few here and tidied it up a bit. Yeah, I've got the original one over here. See, goes on for ages. Yeah. So I just tidied this one up for you to make it more simple for you to see. So yeah, I've been doing it since the 9th of March. And the reason I say the 9th of March, so it's now, what is it? The something of May? The 1st of June, right? So I'm nearly on up to 3 months. And the reason I say the 9th of March is just that's when I started doing it daily. I did do these before that, but 9th of March was the start of the daily thing. So I started doing it then. Okay. And then what are the options? Right, so what options is as a result of what I did and what I experienced, what are options to get me back into the zone? Yeah, or not get me back into the zone. Or what are the options that come up? What could I do to improve my engagement or addiction in the process? Okay, so I often put practice piano in. You can see I put it multiple times. Keep practicing piano, practice piano, get back to piano practice. But one of the things I do notice is that the more that I practice the piano, the more I have to practice the piano, because I really, really noticed the difference in my ability to do stuff. It felt really sticky today. That's because yesterday it was a day off. It was like a kind of a second birthday day for my little one. We went to the beach, and I mean, it was a bit cold, but we went to the beach and stuff like that. So I didn't actually get a chance to practice piano because I had to prepare this and stuff. So I didn't actually have a chance to practice piano, and I really noticed it. Okay. When there's a big one, do not go back. Oops. Undo. Do not go back to safe stale options. Really need to. Okay. Do a few streams with the DFAM following the Subharmonicon note. That was rusty. Sometimes I come up with more options, and sometimes I don't. I mean, I don't always do these options. These are just things I could do. Yeah. Something else. I'm not sure timeless is right. Is the right delay. try echo mode. I think that'll do for now. All right. So going back to Rob's question about how often do you look back on it? Well, I don't have a set amount of time I look back on it, because really the magic is in doing it. Yeah, it's like 80% of the value is what is done now. It's just that I've done it, because I think people make this mistake with reviewing and tracking and sort of note taking and stuff like that, is that they think that the majority of the value is being able to look back on it in the future. It so isn't. Yeah, it's like writing a diary. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting occasionally, but that's not where the value is. The value is in doing it, is in the process of doing it. It's similar to planning. People think the value of planning is in the actual plan. I mean, depending on what you do, of course. I think if you're doing something really complicated, like building a skyscraper, this might not be true. But in your own life, the majority of the value of the planning, certainly for me anyway, is in the doing of the plan, not the plan itself. Because apart from anything else, no plan survives reality, right? So the value is in just thinking through what happened and if it worked for you, right? So now I'm going to show you what I do. So what I do with this. So this is where there is value in looking back, because what usually happens is, and I'll do it now, but what usually happens is, almost always, I do the stream in the morning, and then in the evening we have a bit of time when we're putting kids to bed and we share it. We've got 4 little boys, and someone does the old ones and someone does the 2 old ones and someone does the young ones. So there's a kind of a gap, and they're watching the telly and I'm doing my practice. Okay, and in that practice session is when I use the tracking stuff. Yeah, and once again, don't get put off by the fact that this is a spreadsheet, because it's not a spreadsheet. It's just information. Yeah, it's just a way of entering information. Yeah. So where am I? So in my practice sessions, is this going to work? No. Hang on. Let's get rid of this. Actually, I can't get rid of that. What can I do? I'll put you down there. There we go. All right. Hello. Right. In my in my practice, so this is the setup in this computer that I have right now, and in my sessions, what I do first, and I'll just quickly show you. Let's go over here. There we go. It's a big bright light in there. Sorry about that. So what I will usually do is some piano practice. And I won't give you the full piano practice, but I'll just show you what I do, because you might be interested. So one of the things that I do is I put the DFAM on, turn that down, and I do something. Basically, depends on what my teacher Rich has given me to do. But I have these practice drills that I do. Right. Hello. Where is the sound? What's going on? No sound. No sound. Where are you? It's a bit weird. No. Oh, I know. It's because I haven't got anything programmed in here. Let's try that. There we go. All right, let's stop that. Hat's good as well. And what I usually do is something like this. There's lots of different ones, but the one I'm doing at the moment is this. It's not, because I've got to turn up the piano. Let's turn down the massive reverb. Oh, we've still got this going on. Let's turn that off. Because that delay's still going. Let's turn that down. There we go. I do something like this. It's very, 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 very dull in a sense, but and I do that all the way around. So I do that all the way around the circle of fifths. Ooh. Yeah. So I do that all the way around the circle of fifths to the DFAM playing, going all the way through all of the relative minors. That's the majors and the relative minors. And at the moment, I'm also doing this exercise, which is. Yeah, I do that with the DFAM as well, but basically just different exercises like that, basically. So that's how I start off. I start playing with the DFAM, yeah, along with the DFAM. So it's like that's the metronome, yeah. Oh, you can't hear the piano. Really? It's weird. Damn. I know what's going on. Sound levels. That's why. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I just basically something like this. Go all the way around. Quite addictive, actually. So basically what that is you're going around the circle of fifths, but through the relative minors. So, and I'm doing a 1-4-5-1. Now, this week I'm meant to be doing a 1-4-5-7-1, which I didn't do that this time because I'm probably going to embarrass myself, but it's something like this. Something like that, anyway. So yeah, so basically that's the kind of exercise I do, and you know, things like this. Except I meant to make it more accurate. It's more, what's the word? Regular than that. The other thing that I have been doing, which I find quite addictive at the moment, is this as well. Right, and the reason I'm showing you these particular drills is that if you're not an instrumental player and instead you're a you know, a producer, yeah. Have I got everything working? Yeah, okay. If you're an instrumental player, if you're not an instrumental player, then you can still do these kinds of drills with music production. Yeah, because the good thing about them in terms of your engagement in the process is that they're kind of brainless, right? But they actually upgrade your skills in certain ways, right? So that it's almost like so you know when you're playing a game, a video game or something like Civilization or something like that, and you've just got to build settlers, right, and stuff like that. They're very kind of grindy things, but you've got to do them in order to progress. But they're very brainless, and they create a lot of certainty, right? Because the thing is with improvement and trying different things is that it's a very uncertainty creating process, right? So in order to really turbocharge your process, you do need to include some things in there where you can literally see measurable progress. Yeah, and it creates a lot of certainty. Right, I am going to practice this every day for 10 minutes. Yeah, this single thing. It could be, what could it be? Like writing answering phrases, or it could be doing a particular kind of sound design on a synth. So you could say I'm going to start from a blank, a sort of, when I say blank, settings to default, and attempt to make a particular kind of sound, yeah, from the start, and I'm going to do that like 3 times in 10 minutes. Yeah, that's another kind of, that's a sound design drill, if you like. Or I'm going to program 5 beats in 10 minutes, 2 minutes a beat. Yeah, yeah, that kind of a thing. Because what that does at the start of your session is or you could do it at the end of the session. I don't think there's a magic to doing it at the start. I just do it at the start, because if I don't do it at the start, I don't do it. So I do that kind of practice drill on the piano because it's a certainty creating thing, which upgrades my an important skill for what I'm doing, and it creates certainty, which allows me to be more experimental in the process. When I say experimental, push forward, because I've got that certainty. I'm better at the piano, so that means I can be a bit more crazy with everything else. Yeah, it's kind of how it works. It's how the human brain works. It's weird like that. So that's an important part of it as well. Yeah. Rob says, have you used different piano presets or the same presets for a full year? Well, I haven't been doing this full year. But I've been doing it since the 9th of March, as you may have heard me say. But I've used one for the whole time until about a week ago, when I accidentally, and it was an accident, I didn't decide to, I accidentally, what was it that happened? Oh, I think I accidentally closed the plugin or got rid of the plugin, and then I opened it and I forgot to change it to the preset I was using. Which was a Bechstein. I was using a Bechstein preset, and its default. Oh God, its default is a Steinway, and I just started using that. And the thing is about a Steinway is that they're very unforgiving. They're very kind of clear and bell-like, and so they're very unforgiving. And I actually quite enjoyed upping the stakes in that way, because with something about the sound of a Bechstein which is a bit more forgiving, it's just like it's a bit more mellow, whereas a Steinway's super clear and you've got to be much more accurate. So I just left it. So I haven't consciously changed the sound of the piano, but yeah, it was a Bechstein for most of the time, and now it's a Steinway. I'll just show you, actually, I might as well, the difference. So this is a Steinway Model D at the moment. Right, and this was the one I was using before accidentally changing it. Hello, where are you? Here, this one. it may well sound better to you, but that's just because I think it's louder. Okay, so I obviously haven't turned up the Steinway. Yeah, so that's the sound of the Bechstein. A bit more mellow. Yeah. And the Model D. Yeah. Right, so piano practice first, and then, and obviously I'm not going to do the full piano practice because that might well be the most boring thing you'll ever see. Where are we? No, not that. Not that. There we go. So next thing is and what this is really about is what I'm trying to do is increase or maintain my engagement and my addiction in the process. Now, remember what I said. So, but what about quality, Mike? Well, as you will recall, I said earlier, the quality of the music is one of the things that engages you in the process. Yeah, so it does come into it. Yeah, but by shifting your focus from quality of the music, your perception of quality of the music, to engagement, what you're actually doing is you're bypassing many of the problems with focusing on quality, and you're increasing your motivation and excitement. Yeah, and any given session that you do, any given production session or live session, performance session that you do, then it reduces the fear of doing it, because every single session is simply more data to improve the next one. Yeah. So if I look at this now, there seems to be a timeless problem. Playing with timeless was fun at one point. Yeah, and there was a bit of a problem with the coming back to this. Not sure if timeless is the right delay. Try echo bode. Now, do I actually want to do that now? So we've done that. When there is speaker one, do not go back to session. All right. Okay, I'll answer that question in a minute, Ostrich. So, Rob, in answer to your question, right now is when I'm going back through the things, because there's not exactly something that I necessarily need to do now. One thing actually was there was a problem. Right. DFAM was distorted, and I didn't know why. Yeah, so I remember now that problem. So probably it's definitely one of the things I would do before I do the final bit is I actually go and find out, like do a bit of a tweak as to like find out what it was that actually was going on. Okay, so let's just see. Yeah, I'm definitely going to answer that question, Ostrich. What factors made you narrow it down and choose the instruments you were chosen when there are so many to choose from? I think it's one of the most important questions I can answer, so I will. But let me just do this first. Hang on, what's going on? Oh, it's weird. It's gone black. No. There we go. All right. So let's see what's going on with this DFAM. I think it might be a patching thing. Or it's this little devil here. Okay. Oh, I've just remembered another problem, which I need to write down, because this has been a persistent problem and I keep forgetting to write it down. It's weird how writing things down, sometimes it's just the act of writing it down means you do something about it, even if you don't see it. Right, retro beat step on catch So what's going on here then? So that's DFAM, but so maybe it was just retro on a weird setting. But I've used tube colors many, many, many times before. Probably best to listen to it in context, actually. Hello, Subharmonicon, what's going on? Why aren't you playing? That's right. So what I'm wondering if is it just a perceptual thing? Yeah, that's what it is. Ah, interesting. Okay. So what I found out is that the reason that it sounded weirdly distorted to me was because recently I've not been using that setting over here, tube colors. Yeah, I did for absolutely ages, just that setting, no other setting, just tube colors for absolutely. Rob, just wait. Like, it's not just writing notes; it's doing something about the notes. So I'm showing you the answer to your question. So what is interesting is that this tube colors setting, I had it on for absolutely ages, and recently when I went, this was at the weekend, and I think I had it over on this or something, or maybe it was something else. It was like, I don't know. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was maybe, yeah, I think it was that. Yeah. Which is a lot less crunchy than the tube colors setting. Because basically what I do in the performances is I play with these knobs here. In order to change the vibe of the DFAM, right? Because this retro thing, it's all sorts of things in one, but it's a big simplification thing. It really helps you simplify it. So I can make it. You can hear that, the DFAM going down to sort of nothing there. Yeah, and you can really crunch up. So you can do all kinds of things with it. Very simply, because it's only got 5 knobs. Right. So basically, the reason that I thought it was distorting was a perceptual thing. I got used to it being much cleaner through this transistor colors one. And tube colors is much, much more crunchy. As you can hear. Yeah. But what's super interesting is that when I had that on for ages, it didn't feel crunchy at all because I was used to it. So that's really good information that I've just learned, is that tube colors is really, really crunchy, and not to worry about it. That's what I'm getting when I use that particular setting on retro. Right, now I would not have, so Rob, in answer to your question, I would not have realized that had I not just been through the review process and then figuring out what was going on. Yeah, so it's not just writing things down. Yeah, it's actually finding out what's going on, actually acting upon what you've written down in the next practice session. Yeah, so looking at this, so I've figured that out. I'm not going to do this now, right? We're just going to star this. I'm not going to do it now because it'll be too boring for you to watch, right? But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try, in fact it's an option, try setting beat step to jump. All right. Because the problem that I'm experiencing is because the beat step's controlling lots of things and the knobs on the top these knobs, yeah, depending on which buttons I push here, this is controlling the expensive hi-hat, otherwise known as the Mother 32. Yeah. Sequencer 1 is controlling the expensive hi-hat. Sequencer 2 is controlling the DFAM. Yeah, and this is controlling the noise of the DFAM, so it does a snare, basically. And sometimes it does other things, but that's at the moment, that's what it's doing. Yeah. So when I change this, these different knobs basically affect different things. So if I change this knob over here and then go back to that, well, this knob is then a different place. Yeah. So as the beat step is set to these knobs are set to catch. So what that means is that you have to twiddle them all the way around in order, and when it hits the setting that it's at, then you get the setting. Yeah, that means that sometimes I'm twisting and twisting and I can't find where the setting is. Yeah, and it's really frustrating. So that's bad. Yeah, where is it? Option, can you see that? No, you can't see that. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so here, option, no, where is it? Oh, here we are. Yeah, like this. Project. No. Anyway, it's in here somewhere, and I could check. Oh, maybe it's here. Anyway, in here somewhere, there's a setting where you can change it from catch to jump. Now, the problem with doing that will be that if I do it to jump, then what's going to happen is suddenly the setting's going to suddenly change. So actually thinking about it, that's not such a good idea, particularly with the DFAM. So maybe another option. So that's I'm going to leave that in there as an option because it is an option. Figure out what controller I could use for the DFAM, which isn't used for anything else. That's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, because I really like the way this is intuitively to play. It really works, but that catch thing is a bit of a problem. Maybe I'm just going to have to live with it. Okay. So anyway, so those are kind of things that have gone wrong to do with how it's actually, how I'm actually interacting with it, right? So what I would probably do is I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm not going to do it now because it'll just take too long because I have to do like lots of MIDI mapping and stuff. But basically, what I've been getting obsessed with sorry, I'm not showing you the thing. Yeah, I'm not going to I'm not going to try this now, try Echo Mode, because it involves lots of MIDI mapping and stuff. But the reason that I'm thinking I need to do that, or that I think it's a good idea, is I have had some good moments with Timeless though, so I'm not really sure. Right, there was one thing in a live stream I did on Saturday or Friday, and I had an absolute, the whole thing was about Timeless, so maybe it's just that I just need more practice on it. What am I going to do? Yeah, okay. So I've got a number of different options, and what I'm going to do is, this is a different option, oops, is add Echo Mode. Oh no, but Echo Mode's on the DFAM, so it's not even the same. Okay, so this is a different option. Practice Timeless. And set up modulations. So with Timeless, you can set up things to modulate other things, and I've not really played with that, so I think that might be the key. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Mother 32, expensive hi-hat. So, oh no, it's terrible. Sorry, Moog. I do love the Mother 32. It's just in this setup, it's just what I use. All right, so essentially, I do a few things. I don't do all of them. I don't try all of them, but I do put what options that I have available to me. Yeah, so I start with the practice. I do a bit of tweak, and sometimes the tweak can be something that I've found in the chain thing. So for instance, I will try occasionally to do, you know, change one of these, maybe the setting here, because there was one, you know, the sort of transients are poking through too much. In fact, I had that problem recently where when I turned down the decay on the DFAM in order to make it go instead of it would, like, the transients would just cause me absolute nightmare. It would start peaking and stuff. So I actually changed things around down here. I think I put the distressor on quite a low attack rather than a long attack. And that kind of seemed to sort it out, and put this DBX thing on there as well, which seems to sort it out a bit as a kind of sidechain compression. And then, so I will do things like that. But what I do when I do things like that is I use one of these, because what I've found in doing this, in figuring out the tweaks to my setup, because this is really something that you can do as well. So if you're producing music rather than performing music, this is about how are you going to tweak the template that you are using when you're making music. Yeah, and it's not even, it's like the current template. Yeah, what can you change about it to mean that you have a much more fun session? Yeah, depending on what it is you want to do. So you can change certain things about the actual setup that you've got. Yeah, so I do sometimes do a bit of that. I probably won't do that right now because it sounds pretty good to me. I just wanted to check out that DFAM crunchy problem, and it was the retro. Sometimes, occasionally, I will add things. I was talking about echo mode. But basically, that's that section. So you've got the practice of something that is repeatable. Well, first you've got the review, then you've got the practice of something repeatable, then you've got the tweaking of whatever your current setup is. And yes, I am recommending that even if you're producing music, that you choose a particular setup and you keep that setup for a certain amount of time, and you constantly iterate on that setup. You don't always start from blank canvas with nothing decided. It's like that is a route to not of going round in circles, finding it really hard, having way too many options, and your music not sounding like anything. Yeah, if you want the shortcut, I mean, you can make music that sounds like something by just having a whatever's in the door idea. But if you want the shortcut that's a lot more fun, that you get better at, that you master much quicker, then you'll do it this way, as if you're playing live. And each practice session, each production session you do then becomes like a practice session, if you like. Yeah. So that's the next session. And then what I do with those changes, whatever it is I will literally just play. I'll just practice whatever it is that I've set up. Okay. So practice. So I'll pay attention to that. Practice timeless and set up modulation. So something I might do. Actually, I think I'm going to do this before I add anything else here. Yeah. So what I'll probably do is in the actual practice session I do is I will set up the modulations, and then in my actual practice where I'm playing, and I don't have it, you know, I'm not live streaming, I'm just literally playing. I will then use this and focus on timeless as the thing that I'm using. But it's not like practicing the piano with the drills. It's not like that. You are doing music. Yeah, it's not just drill things like I'm going to make 5,000 quick question and answer hooks. It's not that. You are actually making music, so you'd actually be making a tune. This would be your session. Yeah, but you're doing your session based upon what you've decided. Some of the options. Okay, so coming back to the question, how do you decide? How do you decide what to use when there are so many options? Well, there is an element. I mean, you'll see here that over here I've got a Prophet, Dave Smith Rev 2, and I've got this SH7, yeah, which aren't plugged in at the moment. I'm not using them for this, and I haven't used them since this. Well, actually, I did try both. I tried both. I can't know, maybe a week in or something. In fact, I think it was before I started doing the dailies. And I almost immediately, after just one session, got rid of them and decided not to use them for various different reasons. The SH7, I probably will include it at some point in the future, but it was too much. It was too much for me to think about. Yeah. And the reason I rejected the Prophet was that it just didn't sound. It's got a really particular sound that it didn't. In the context of what I was doing, it didn't work for me at that point. It just took it somewhere else. Another thing that I tried, I've got a cool Volca Beats somewhere. I tried that as well. I tried adding that and syncing that up, and that didn't work for me either. It made it into something different. So, number one, how do you decide? Well, what does it sound like? Do you like the sound of it? Yeah, is it something that you want in your music? Yeah, that's the number one way of deciding, obviously. Another way of deciding is, and these all go into it as well, is how does it work? Is it enjoyable to use? So the reason I've put, where are you? The reason I've put these, and by the way, if you have any more questions, please do ask, because I'm about to stop this. So yeah, if you need to ask me anything, then do it now. So the reason I settled on these is because of the way that not so much the expensive hi-hat, but the DFAM and the Subharmonicon, the way that they work really fits with how I work. The thing that I'm good at, my strengths and my weaknesses, they really, really work for it, because you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, I mean, you have a sense, yeah, but they're kind of playgrounds, yeah, and you do something and then you work with what happens. Yeah, it's really, they're discovery machines, particularly the Subharmonicon, even more so than the DFAM. But they're not the kind of thing where you think of something and then you do it. I mean, I'm getting to the point with the DFAM where I kind of can with quite a few things. So I know how to bring a snare drum in. I know what happens when I do this and what happens when I do that. But it's still very kind of, they go all over the place. Yeah, and I like that. That's what inspires me. Now, some people aren't like that. Some people don't work like that. They don't like to do that. They don't like that uncertainty, right? There are other machines which are more like programming a computer or something. I'm not like that at all. I can't, despite me using spreadsheets and stuff and using processors and using systems, I'm just not like that at all when I'm making music. I just want to roll the dice and work with what those dice come up with. I just love that. It's exciting. It's what keeps me inspired. So how it actually works is another way that you decide. Yeah. The other way that you decide is by telling yourself, before you make these decisions, if you like, how many instruments you're going to have. Yeah. So instead of going, well, I like this and I like that and that works for me and this works for me, and then before you know it, you've got 5 billion things, you also say, well, how many am I allowing myself? And my approach has been just to take it to the ridiculous extent. So beats. So that's beats. This is one instrument. Yeah. So that's it. So that's it in terms of non-me instruments. I've got the Subharmonicon, beats, and kind of bass as well. Yeah. So this is kick and bass. This is hats. So these two together, beats. This is one instrument. And then aside from that, it's just me playing the piano. So I've chosen the piano. And as we talked about, I'm using basically one at a time, but one sound at a time. And then one string sound. Yeah. So I've got beats plus 3 other instruments. Now, that is extremely limiting. But what is the benefit of limiting myself to that number of instruments? Well, number one, it sounds like something. Yeah. The more instruments that you have, the more, you know, if you just had every instrument in the world, it wouldn't. If you have everything, it doesn't sound like anything. That's number one. The way that I'm doing it means that it automatically sounds like Zentor. Yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I mean, you know, I did the thing today was 125 BPM. I do things at 65 BPM. I do things at 155 BPM. But it still sounds like me. It still sounds like what I'm doing. So that's one benefit of doing it. The other benefit of doing it is like this, is that it gives me a lot less to practice. So what does a lot less to practice mean? Right? Same amount of time, a lot less to practice. It means you get much better, much faster. Right? And here's another thing that goes into your addiction and engagement in the process. Your progress. It's pretty much one of the most addictive things that there is when you see yourself improving fast, you just want to do it more. It's like when you just think about a video game. You know, when you get to a new level, you're like, oh, you're all excited again. Yeah. So that's another reason that I'm limiting myself so extremely. Another reason that it just means more progress. It means mastery of the machines. I can guarantee you, if I'd have had the SH7 and the Rev 2 in my setup, I would not have got as far as I have with these machines. My understanding of them would have been many times less, because it's a multiplier. It's not just like whatever it is, 2/5 less. It's probably more like 20 times less, because of just focusing on these particular machines. Same with these instruments here. The final reason, I mean, there are other reasons too, but the final big reason is that at the end of the day, limitations are what make you creative. Yeah, so instead of asking what else can I use, what can I do with this is a much more powerful question. Yeah, because if you look here, yes, I am limited in terms of sound making things. Oh, this is so annoying. I can never, what is it? It's this one. Sorry, going back to this. I am limited in terms of sound making things, but with the Tornado and with the Tornadoes, yeah. So I've got this on the Subharmonicon and I've got this on the expensive hi-hat on the Model 32, yeah. By twisting these knobs, it puts in a certain order. Yeah, so it puts these effects in a certain order. That means I actually have infinite sounds that I can make. Now I don't know what those sounds are going to be, because it's very rolling the dice. I know the vague kind of thing that they're going to do. Yeah. So I do have lots of options within not having many options. Yeah. You know, here I can, on the Subharmonicon, I can distort it. I can make it go reversey. I can put reverb on it. I can do, you know, so there's lots and lots of different things that I can actually do. So, you know, in terms of music technology, that you can do a lot with not very many instruments. And I'm still, even though I'm able to do lots of things by modifying the sound in some way, I'm still focused on learning, getting better at practicing this instrument. So really what I'm talking about, folks, is the difference between a practice approach, right, where I'm like, what are my instruments? Yeah, what are, you know, a violin player, what's their instrument? A violin. A piano player, what's their instrument? A piano. Yeah. What kind of a player am I when I'm playing these babies? My instrument is the Subharmonicon and the Moog DFAM. And it was interesting. I was watching a from the Moog factory live stream with the guy who actually invented these. He built these. He designed all three of them. And he said he was talking to Bob Moog. I think he was one of the first. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah. So he was talking to Bob Moog, and Bob Moog said, every time you change something here, you're creating a new instrument, right? Similarly, every time you go to say you're using something like Pigments, by Arturia, or Omnisphere, or Diva, or those kinds of soft synths. Yeah. Every time you pick a new preset, you have a new instrument, right? How crazy is it to think that you are going to master 5,000 instruments? This is the difference between a practice mindset and a production mindset. And I think this is one of the reasons that people go DAWless or start to go towards hardware, is because of the limitations. But folks, you can create those limitations for yourself in software, right? By taking the kind of approach that I'm talking about now, right? Because when you can do anything, you do nothing. Okay. So, so finally, Rob says, the expensive hi-hat, can you not just loop it, or are you changing it in your performances? No, so basically what is going on is two things are actually triggering the Mother 32. I'll show you right now, just to finish off. And then I've got a coaching session to do. So, but yeah, just in the last 5 minutes, I'll just show you this. All right, so, oops. I don't know why it's doing that. I've got to figure that out. Okay. So at the moment, I've got two things that are telling the Mother 32 to do what it does. All right, let's see if I can. Yeah, hang on. Let's move over to this one and get rid of this one. Yeah. All right, so I've got the beat step sequencer 1, which you can't actually see. Well, oh, don't worry about it. I've got the beat step sequencer 1. No, you don't need to worry about it. Hang on. Let me just. How do I do this? How do I do this? Oh, I know. Bear with me, folks. It won't be there. Just 2 minutes. I know what to do. No. Okay. It's ridiculous. There are so many different screens that I end up needing to use for this that I've never actually managed to sort it out. Okay, there we go. So this is upside down, but just yeah, deal with it. Okay, so the beat set sequencer 1 here. That's one of the things that is driving the Mother 32. Okay. So I've got the DFAM turned down. So this is just the Mother 32 at the moment. Yeah, so basically the sequencer in the Mother 32 isn't being played at all because I've got, what have I got? Tell you what, I wish they'd have written these at the top of the thing. Green. Yeah, here. So I've got it connected. What have I got connected? Here we go, gate. Yeah, so there you go, I've just pulled it out. Yeah, but here you can hear that it's still playing, it's just playing something different. Yeah, so let me just turn that down. So at the moment, yeah, let's turn that on. So if I go, yeah, and I can turn up the decay here. But what's cool is I've also got the DFAM telling the beat step what to do. So if I just turn down the decay, so the DFAM, this is a sequencer. So here, this is the pitch sequencer. So I've got that pitch going to VCACV on the beat step. Yeah. So if I turn this, yeah, so I've got lots of different options basically. Yeah. So that's one way of changing. That's one way of changing the. Hopefully you can hear all this. Have I made the same mistake? One of these days I'm going to sort out this situation so that I can actually see what's going on. Sound effects, sound levels. Yes, phew! All right. The other thing I could do, obviously, is the tornadoes. So let's do that too. And so I won't show you. Don't need to see it, but you know what a tornado looks like. So now it's playing a hat pattern. Let's bring in the DFAM. So if I now play with the tornado, I can do this, for instance. Yeah, and this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And then this. So by using literally one instrument on, you know, an expensive hat, shall we say? Let's just change the camera. I don't feel in any way limited. In fact, there's literally infinite things that I can do with this one machine, right? By focusing on what do I do with this? How can I make this infinitely interesting? Rather than, how many more synths can I get? Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that I will never, ever, ever add a synth or buy another synth. I would love to have more synths, but there's zero limitation going on here. I mean, it's like, it's a, like, this is one of the reasons I wonder about people who are, I'm only hardware, or I'm only digital, you know, it's like those type of people. It's like, but you're cutting off, it's like, why? Like, what's the reason? What's the reason for that? Because if I didn't take this approach, I wouldn't be able to make the music I'm making now at the quality it is, whatever that is. I'm not saying it's like the best thing ever, but at the quality it is, because I would still be waiting for all that hardware that I want. Right? I can't do it until I've got like all of these compressors and you know, these effects, because it's got to be hardware. That's the only way it's going to work. It's like, but hang on a minute. Are you not a human being with a creative ability? Yeah. So the gear is just the tool, and it is. There are wonderful tools, and there are certain tools which work for you better and certain which don't. But there are those in software, there are those in hardware, there are those in everything in between. And if you really want to get super engaged in your process, that's the approach that you will take. When will I add something new? That's a difficult question, because I know that adding something new is going to be a problem. It's good. I mean, it's going to be upside. So for instance, when the Subharmonicon came along, I had a massive explosion in my enthusiasm and creativity, because it plugged a hole in what I was trying to do, which meant I could do it live, because then I had two things which were separately sequenced that were able to be changed relatively easy, and I could play over the top. All right, so it works for what I was wanting to do. So I'm not saying that something new is a bad thing, but it's like you've got to be really mindful of what it's going to do, because as soon as I introduce, the first thing I'm going to introduce is this, is the SH7. I know for a fact that that's going to cause a lot of overwhelm, because I've instantly, you know, if you think about this setup as an instrument, I will have literally given myself a new instrument to learn. Yeah, and if you think about the way, whether you're producing in the box, out the box, or something in between, if you think about it like that, I think you will be much more mindful of how you do what you do. Yeah. So yeah. I know a lot of weird people. Yeah, sorry, it's my silly voices and stuff. It's just I just see people getting all tribal about hardware, software, digital, analog. Oh, yawn, yawn, yawn. It's like, how much music have you made than last week? Then have a conversation with me. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it on that. I do get on my soapbox about this. I'm sorry about that, folks. Yeah, at the end of the day, if what you're doing is working for you, go for it. Yeah. But you know, we can always improve. I'm not resting on any laurels, because the most addictive thing and the most fun thing about this is our progress. It really is. Take it from someone who's made zero progress for many years and enormous progress at certain periods of my life. So with that, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm late for my coaching session, so I better go. So until next time, actually later on this week on my Friday morning, which will probably be your Thursday if you're not in Australia or New Zealand, I'm going to do a mixing live stream thing. So watch out for that. That's on the Make Music Live channel though. So I will see you soon. So until next time, onwards and upwards.